After saying goodbye to the people of Cites and the cat, we left Avila at 10 a.m., heading south towards the Andalusian town of Ubeda, 420 kilometers away. After 4 hours, we were in La Mancha. Stopping for lunch at Porto Lapite, we were greeted by a morose Don Quixote brooding on a rock. After lunch, we left Don Quixote more morose than before. As we neared Ubeda, olive trees began to appear more and more frequently on both sides of the road. Ubeda is a World Heritage Site because of its well-preserved Renaissance buildings, churches, and plazas. But we were going there for another reason. Ubeda is the place where John of the Cross spent his last few days on earth. John of the Cross was a Carmelite mystic, poet, and reformer. In 1578, accused of disobedience by friars opposed to the reform, he was taken to Toledo and imprisoned, suffering extreme deprivations for 9 months until he managed to escape. In the depths of his miserable situation, John's spirit soared to new heights of contemplation. He wrote one of his most passionate lyric poems, the Spiritual Canticle, crying out from his cold, dark cell, "Where have you hidden, beloved? Why have you wounded my soul?"
Where have you hidden, beloved? Why have you wounded my soul? I went out to the wilderness calling for you, but you were gone.
We knew we were in Andalusia because of the olive trees stretched out in rows all around us, in the hills and the valleys, in the plains and the mountains. After his escape, John continued his work for the reform, taking on various responsibilities. Towards the end, he was subjected to renewed persecution, this time from his discalced brothers. He did nothing to defend himself. He was not concerned in contending with earthly authorities, but instead sought intimacy with God through the secret ladder of solitude and sacrifice.
I have searched among the meadows and the fields. He has poured out 1,000 graces, so my heart might be.
As we entered Ubeda at around 4 p.m., we saw costumed men in black medieval garb and ladies in their traditional ruffled dress skirts. A festival of some sort was going on, and everyone was in an expectant mood. People were out in the streets and cafes. As we walked to the museum dedicated to John of the Cross, we passed by the Santa Maria de los Reales Church, the back of the Palacio de las Cadenas, and the Plaza del Ayuntamiento, all Renaissance landmarks of the city. I was impressed by their remarkable architecture, but was hardly aware of their true significance. We turned into the Calle San Juan de la Cruz and came upon 2 churches joined at right angles to each other, the Convento de San Miguel and the Oratorio de San Juan de la Cruz. On one side of the oratorio was the door to the Museo de San Juan de la Cruz, which includes these 2 adjacent churches. The oratorio, a former Carmelite convent, has now become the Basilica of San Juan de la Cruz, with John's sepulchre situated in front of the Baroque altar. We heard Mass concelebrated by our 3 priests. In 1591, John came to Ubeda to be treated for an infected right foot. The superior, who bore a grudge, ignored him. For 4 months, he did not receive proper care. But he was happy. It has always been his prayer to be overlooked, set aside, and forgotten. When he lay dying, the superior relented and apologized to him. John endured a painful death. He asked the friars gathered around him to read from the Song of Songs. As he drew his last breath, he exclaimed, "Oh, what beautiful daisies!" A fragrant odor emanated from his dead body. The people of Ubeda knew that a saint had died, and they gathered around him. In the sacristy of the basilica is the table on which the saint was laid shortly after death. It was a solemn moment for me as I touched the table where the dead John lay. Also in the sacristy were the fingers of the saint and the chasuble he used. In the choir loft of the church is the little room where John actually died. It now houses a reliquary with the saint's leg bone. Next to the basilica is the varied iconography of John of the Cross, portraying him as a saint, as a writer, or as a mystic. It contains a true portrait of John. The choir loft of the adjacent Convento de San Miguel now houses various religious art objects, including a sculpture of the discalced Carmelite founder Teresa de Jesus. Next to this is the cell actually used by John of the Cross. His small bed is tucked beside the wall. Other rooms contain an icon of John and some of his writings. The museo also featured artworks from a contemporary artist, Jose Marquez, depicting various themes from John of the Cross. It gives an insight into the meaning and relevance of the saint to the present generation.
Him I knew so well in a place where no one else appeared.
We emerged from the museo at 7 p.m. As we walked back to our bus, we passed the Iglesia de San Pablo with its ornate Gothic entranceway. In the Plaza de Mayo 1, we stopped by the monument to John of the Cross. People were gathering at the Plaza Vasque de Molina, one of the best Renaissance squares in Spain. It is surrounded by such structures as the Sacra Capilla del Salvador, the Parador Hotel, and the Palacio de las Cadenas. The festivities were to start at 7:30. We wanted to stay longer to witness the celebration and appreciate the local color, but we could not since we have to be at Baiza by 9 p.m. So, with reluctant hearts, we departed. At Baiza, we disembarked a little distance from the hotel and had to carry and pull all of our heavy luggage by ourselves through rough stone streets and traffic. We complained a lot about such a major inconvenience, forgetting the example of St. John of the Cross. At dinner time, we managed to laugh at ourselves for our very short memories.
Flame of love, tenderly wounded my soul to its deepest inner heart without oppression. Come, consummate our love, tear through the veil of our union. If it be your will, come and rend the veil of the tender